Ladies and gentlemen, let's address the egg. Yes, the humble egg. It's an ancient food, compact, efficient, symbolically rich, and for many, a breakfast staple. But for seniors, the question arises, is it still safe? Is it still healthy? I've spent 4 decades in internal medicine. I've walked the hospital floors, studied the charts, and watched the tides of nutritional advice rise and fall. And I'll tell you this, the egg has been unfairly vilified and blindly praised in equal measure. Context is critical when evaluating whether daily egg consumption is healthy for seniors. Far too often, health discussions are reduced to isolated absolutes. This food is good, that food is bad, without considering the intricate biological, metabolic, and lifestyle factors that influence how the body responds. The truth is, a food as nutrient-dense as an egg cannot be properly assessed outside of the broader context in which it is consumed. An egg contains high-quality protein, essential vitamins like B12, choline for brain health, and antioxidants such as lutein and zeaxanthin, which support vision. On paper, this seems beneficial, especially for aging individuals who are at increased risk of muscle loss, cognitive decline, and nutrient deficiencies. However, nutrients do not operate in a vacuum. They interact with the internal state of the body, consuming them. In a healthy, active, metabolically resilient individual, eggs may help maintain muscle mass, support brain function, and contribute to overall nutritional adequacy. But the story is different in a sedentary, insulin-resistant senior whose diet is already rich in saturated fats, processed foods, and inflammatory triggers. Many seniors suffer from underlying conditions, atherosclerosis. For these individuals, the cholesterol content of eggs, while no longer demonized as it once was, still requires caution. While dietary cholesterol may not be the direct villain, in a body already under cardiovascular strain, excess intake from multiple sources could contribute to a metabolic tipping point. It's not that the egg itself is inherently harmful, but when added to an already dysregulated system, it may no longer serve as a health-promoting food. Moreover, the meal context matters. Is the egg consumed with leafy greens and olive oil, or with white toast, margarine, and processed meat? The metabolic impact of food combinations can be substantial, influencing glycemic response, lipid absorption, and inflammation. Likewise, activity level plays a significant role. A physically active senior with good muscle tone and cardiovascular health will process nutrients differently than someone who is largely sedentary. The same egg can build strength in one body and contribute to imbalance in another. Ultimately, asking whether eggs are healthy without examining the person eating them misses the mark. Biology is not static. It's dynamic, responsive, and deeply personal. When we ignore context, metabolic health, dietary patterns, activity level, and disease state, we reduce nutrition to a caricature of itself. In medicine, especially in the aging population, nuance isn't it's essential. The cholesterol panic of the late 20th century was built on a well-intentioned but ultimately flawed interpretation of early research. For decades, public health guidelines warned against foods high in cholesterol, with eggs placed squarely in the crosshairs. This guidance stemmed largely from observational studies and animal experiments suggesting a direct link between dietary cholesterol and blood cholesterol levels, which were then associated with heart disease. The logic seemed straightforward. Cholesterol in food raises cholesterol in blood, which clogs arteries and causes heart attacks. But human biology is rarely that simple. What those early studies failed to fully appreciate was the complexity of cholesterol metabolism in the human body. The liver produces the vast majority of cholesterol found in the bloodstream, far more than what comes directly from food. For most people, when dietary cholesterol increases, the liver compensates by reducing its own production. This feedback mechanism helps maintain a relatively stable cholesterol level. Only a small percentage of people, so-called hyper-responders, experience significant increases in blood cholesterol after eating high cholesterol foods. And even then, it's not always in a harmful form. Modern research, including large-scale meta-analyses and randomized controlled trials, has shown that for the general population, moderate egg consumption does not significantly raise the risk of cardiovascular disease. In fact, the type of cholesterol found in eggs, alongside nutrients like phospholipids and omega-3s, may have a neutral or even beneficial effect when eaten as part of a balanced diet. Importantly, eggs increase HDL, the so-called good cholesterol, and have little consistent effect on LDL particle size in most people, which is a more relevant measure of cardiovascular risk than total cholesterol alone. The oversimplification of cholesterol science led to decades of fear-based dietary advice. People were advised to shun eggs and other whole foods in favor of processed, low-fat alternatives, many of which were high in sugar and refined carbohydrates. Ironically, far more harmful to heart health than dietary cholesterol. This shift in focus contributed to an increase in metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes, particularly among aging populations. It's not that cholesterol doesn't matter. It does. But context matters more. Elevated LDL cholesterol can still be a risk factor, especially in people with other health issues. However, blaming a single food, like eggs, for heart disease is a misdirection. Nutritional science has evolved, but the public narrative often lags behind. What we now understand is that cholesterol in food is not the villain it was once made out to be, and painting it as such did more harm than good. Eggs are among the most nutrient-dense foods available, providing a concentrated source of essential vitamins, minerals, high-quality protein, and unique bioactive compounds. For seniors in particular, who often face nutritional deficiencies due to reduced appetite, altered digestion, or restrictive diets, eggs can serve as a practical and efficient means of meeting daily nutritional needs. Each egg contains approximately 6 grams of complete protein, meaning it provides all 9 essential amino acids in proportions the body can readily use for repair and maintenance. This is especially critical in older adults who experience sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass and strength that accompanies aging. Regular intake of high-quality protein helps preserve muscle function, mobility, and metabolic health. Beyond protein, eggs offer a valuable supply of vitamins and minerals that support various physiological systems. They are rich in vitamin B12, a nutrient crucial for maintaining nerve function and producing red blood cells, which becomes increasingly important as absorption of B12 naturally declines with age. Eggs are also a natural source of choline, a compound involved in brain health, memory, and the structural integrity of cell membrane. Choline deficiency is not uncommon, particularly in older populations, and is linked to cognitive decline and liver dysfunction. Including eggs in the diet can help offset that risk. Lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 carotenoids found in egg yolks, are known for their role in protecting eye health. These antioxidants accumulate in the retina and help filter harmful blue light, reducing the risk of age macular degeneration, a leading cause of vision loss in older adults. Unlike many plant-based sources of these nutrients, the fat in eggs enhances their bioavailability, meaning the body can absorb and use them more effectively. Eggs also contain small but meaningful amounts of vitamins A, D, and E, selenium, and folate. While not unique to eggs, these nutrients play essential roles in immune function, antioxidant defense. Vitamin D, in particular, is difficult to obtain through diet alone, and eggs, especially when from pasture-raised hens or those given supplemental feed, can contribute modestly to meeting those needs. Given their affordability, ease of preparation, and digestibility, eggs are a practical food choice for seniors who may face challenges in cooking or accessing a wide variety of fresh foods. Their nutritional density means that even a small portion delivers significant health benefits. When consumed as part of a balanced diet, eggs serve not just as a source of sustenance, but as a strategic tool to support aging bodies through targeted nutrition. Metabolic health in seniors is a critical determinant of how the body responds to various foods, including eggs. As people age, several physiological changes begin to compromise metabolic efficiency. Insulin sensitivity decreases, muscle mass declines, fat mass often increases, and the regulatory systems governing blood sugar, cholesterol, and inflammation become less stable. These shifts make seniors more vulnerable to conditions like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. In this context, even nutrient-rich foods must be evaluated based on how well the body can process and utilize them, rather than their composition alone. Many older adults live with what is termed metabolic dysfunction, a condition marked by elevated blood glucose, high blood pressure, poor lipid profiles, and abdominal obesity. These markers signal a body that is no longer metabolizing food efficiently. This matters when evaluating foods like eggs, which, while rich in beneficial nutrients, also contain cholesterol and saturated fat. For a metabolically healthy person, these components are generally well managed by internal regulatory systems. But in a senior with metabolic dysregulation, the same nutrients may contribute to systemic inflammation or further impair lipid balance. Muscle mass is another key factor in metabolic health. Muscle is the primary site of glucose uptake, and its loss not only reduces strength and mobility, but also impairs glucose control. High-quality protein from eggs can help counteract this loss, but only if the person remains physically active and has adequate overall nutrition. Without that context, even optimal protein intake may not produce the intended benefits. Metabolism is not static. It interacts with lifestyle, physical activity, stress levels, sleep quality, and overall dietary habits. Moreover, aging bodies often experience chronic low-grade inflammation, sometimes called inflaging. This subtle but persistent immune activation alters how nutrients affect the system. For example, a food that is anti-inflammatory in a younger, metabolically healthy person might provoke a mild inflammatory response in a senior with existing cardiovascular issues. This variability means that dietary decisions should not be based on one-size-fits-all advice, but rather tailored to individual metabolic status. Lab markers such as fasting glucose, HbA1c, triglyceride levels, and waist circumference offer a clearer picture of a senior's metabolic health than weight or cholesterol alone. These indicators help determine how well someone is likely to respond to dietary cholesterol, fats, and other nutrients. For seniors, improving or maintaining metabolic health through movement, balanced eating, and weight control is foundational, not just for longevity, but for the body's ability to safely benefit from otherwise nutritious foods like eggs. The health impact of any single food cannot be fully understood without examining the combinations in which it is consumed and the habits that surround it. Eggs are no exception. While eggs are nutrient-rich and provide high-quality protein, essential vitamins, and healthy fats, the overall effect they have on the body is heavily influenced by what they are eaten with and how they fit into a person's daily routine. For seniors, whose metabolism is often slower and more sensitive to dietary imbalances, the importance of food combinations and eating habits becomes even more pronounced. Consider the common Western breakfast: eggs served alongside white toast, processed meats like bacon or sausage, fried potatoes, and sugary coffee. In this context, the egg is not the problem. The issue is the surrounding foods, which are high in refined carbohydrates, trans fats, sodium, and added sugars. These elements create a metabolic burden, spiking blood sugar, increasing inflammation, and elevating cardiovascular risk. The nutrient value of the egg becomes overshadowed by the damage done by the rest of the plate. When eggs are instead paired with vegetables, whole grains, or avocado, and prepared without excessive oil or butter, they become part of a meal that supports blood sugar stability, heart health, and digestion. Meal timing and frequency also play a role. Eating eggs as part of a nutrient-dense, protein-rich breakfast can promote satiety throughout the day, helping to regulate appetite and reduce the likelihood of overeating later. But if that same breakfast is followed by frequent snacking on processed foods, late-night eating, and irregular meal patterns, the benefits are diluted. For seniors, whose circadian rhythms may already be disrupted, consistent meal timing and balanced composition are especially important for maintaining metabolic health. Habits surrounding physical activity and digestion further impact how egg-based meals are processed. A senior who maintains even moderate daily movement, such as walking or light resistance training, will utilize the nutrients in eggs more effectively than someone who is largely sedentary. Likewise, hydration, sleep quality, and stress levels all influence digestion and metabolic response. Chronic stress, for example, can impair insulin sensitivity, making it harder for the body to handle even healthy meals. Ultimately, no food operates in isolation. Eggs eaten as part of a nutrient-dense whole foods diet, combined with mindful eating patterns and active living, can contribute to long-term health. But when consumed alongside processed, nutrient-poor foods, or within a lifestyle marked by poor habits, their value may be lost. Understanding this interdependence is essential for making nutrition choices that truly support aging health. When considering whether a food like eggs is healthy, especially for seniors, the more relevant question is not about the food itself, but about the person consuming it. Nutrition science has often focused on categorizing foods as either good or bad, healthy or harmful. However, this binary thinking fails to account for the vast differences in individual biology, lifestyle, and metabolic condition. The same food can support wellness in one person while contributing to disease progression in another. Therefore, the emphasis must shift away from obsessing over food labels and move toward understanding the eater, their health status, habits, needs, and vulnerabilities. For seniors, this shift is especially important. Aging brings about a host of physiological changes that affect how the body processes nutrients. Kidney function may decline, insulin sensitivity tends to decrease, inflammation becomes more chronic, and muscle mass often deteriorates. These factors mean that a food like an egg, rich in protein and nutrients, may be beneficial for one senior who is active and metabolically stable, yet less ideal for another dealing with advanced cardiovascular disease, uncontrolled diabetes, or chronic inflammation. Individualized context matters. A senior with good blood sugar control, adequate hydration, and a balanced diet may process dietary cholesterol and fat from eggs without issue. Meanwhile, someone with abdominal obesity, a sedentary lifestyle, and high triglycerides might experience increased cardiovascular risk when adding more cholesterol or saturated fat to their diet, even from natural sources like eggs. The biological response is determined not only by the chemical composition of the food, but by the internal terrain of the person eating it. Additionally, factors such as medication use, digestive efficiency, food sensitivities, and even psychological attitudes toward eating play a role. Many seniors take medications that affect digestion, nutrient absorption, or appetite. Others may eat out of habit, convenience, or comfort rather than based on physiological need. In such cases, nutrient-dense foods like eggs may be underutilized or misused depending on when and how they are consumed. Understanding the eater means considering not just the nutrients in a food, but how those nutrients interact with an individual's current state of health. Are they getting enough protein overall? Are they absorbing B12 or choline effectively? Is their dietary pattern helping or harming their goals? These questions are far more useful than asking whether a food is universally healthy. Shifting the focus from the food to the eater invites a more honest, personalized approach to nutrition, one that respects human complexity instead of forcing one-size-fits-all dietary rules. So when we ask, are daily eggs truly healthy for seniors? We're asking the wrong question. The real question is, what condition is the body in when it receives the egg? Health isn't found in a single food. It's reflected in the system that digests it. Eggs can nourish, strengthen, and support longevity, but only when the rest of the body and the life around it is in alignment. We must move beyond simplified answers and start asking deeper, more personal questions. Not just, what should I eat, but what is my body capable of handling, and what am I doing to support it? Food choices matter, but the eater, their habits, health, and awareness matters more. Because in the end, it's not the egg that decides your health. It's you.